Hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? Here we are for the fourth live stream in the Fairy House series, I guess. Didn't really expect to be doing that. Whoops, that was my light. Okay, I'm going to do this one-handed. Sorry, look at the light whilst I fix it. Look at my nostrils. There. Here we go. So how are you doing this lovely April day? Actually, it's not so lovely here in Massachusetts. It's crazy and windy. Usually it's nice by now. So we have some folks here already. Come and say hi. Tell me who you are, where you're from. Or not. Hello, everybody. We got more coming in. That's great. So I'll show you while we're waiting for a few more folks to join us. It's just after 1. I'll show you what's on my work desk today. There we go. I just finally got around to opening my Potomac bead box. I had the Potomac bead box and the dollar bead box sitting in a pile. They just came at a bad time. I don't know, I was in a bad mood or something, but I finally had a few minutes to relax and open them last night. These are some pretty cool earrings, actually. It's an interesting design. You can't really tell from the cover, but you build this herringbone and peyote stitch shape that goes on the back of these beads. They're like cabochons, but with a hole in them. Dome beads, they call them. And then you kind of wrap it around. It's sort of cool. And they include all the beads for them, but I didn't really like the green ones, so I think I'm going to use these instead. So that's what I was doing, and then of course I finished, well, somewhat finished the houses. So here's the dragon that you probably saw in the photo, the title card. This is the house we've been working on the past few weeks. And I have a story for this little dragon, as I promised in the email. And then here's the other one. I'm pretty happy with the way this came out. This roof, I actually ended up coloring with pan pastels, and I loved it so much. I've been meaning to order more pan pastels, and I finally did, because I just love the look. It's different than making a blend in clay, and I think I kind of like it better. And my candle, which I adore, and got all the tools ready to start playing. All right. Well, we have a few people here now, so I'm going to go ahead and pop you up above, and we'll get started. All right, I'll let you look at the fairy house for a moment. Or nothing. Oh. There, is that better? Once again, I forgot my lapel mic. Okay, here we go. There, I'm trying to zoom in really close today because we're doing the dragons and they're pretty detailed. So I want you to be able to see everything I'm doing. I think I need to reload that. Let's put all these beads and things away. So here is the little dragon that we're going to be making today. He's a very simple dragon, but he's really cute. And as you can see, I made him a very sad little guy. Oops, these leaves just keep popping off, but I just keep gluing them back on. He's got a story, and I'll tell you a little bit more about him as we make him. So hopefully you got the email with the supply list, and what you need is a variety of different colors. I mean, you could do him definitely all in a solid color of clay, but I just think he's so much more interesting with streaks. He had some lighter colors, which I put on his belly, you know, just these different variations of color. I really like doing it that way. I just think it's so much more interesting to look at and more lively than just a flat color. And I use pieces of cane for his wings. Now, I wasn't sure. I went through my canes and I had, oh, wait a minute. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. I had this feather cane, which is from Gail Thomas, is it? I think she shared it on her YouTube channel. I'll share a link to it. I think she said she was copying Donna Cato's feather cane. I've made a couple of these. It's so pretty. And I wasn't sure about that. You could use a leaf cane, a feather cane, a flower petal cane would be really pretty. And I ended up using, though, was this cane, which I had actually intended it to be a leaf cane, but I put the veins the wrong way, and so they're kind of feathery, leafy things. But that's fine. It doesn't really matter. It's just a kind of a shortcut and adds some interest and saves you some time because you've already done the work of the cane, and you probably have a cane in your stash somewhere that will work. So the first thing is to, oh, and there's one of his flowers falling off. Oh my goodness. We'll glue those back on. I'll put them there and see if I don't lose them. So what I like to do, and I've said this before in many of my tutorials, I like to gather a variety of colors in the same color family. Lights, darks. Let me move this up. Sorry, I just realized a little out of frame. Lights, darks, mediums, have a variety. And also, since I was adding in some of the cane, well, let me say that a different way. Since I wanted it to be sure that the cane looked like it was a part of him and not just stuck on, I actually took some ends of the cane and mixed them in as well. And that's why this piece is here. This is half of a feather cane. And I'm going to use this one for this one just because I already used this one. So when you have green, you think that, you know, I've got a blue green, I've got a yellow green, I've got kind of a gray green, I've got wasabi, which I love this color. And I'm actually going to move these all onto here. Now here's another little trick for you, is don't just wad all of these colors up and mix them in, but set aside some of the colors, because you can see I used some of this, I think, for his tail tip, and then some of, I think, this one for his eyelids, and a different one for his inner ears and around his eyes. So set aside little tiny bits of each of your colors to use as accents. And I've already done that here. I've just got some little bits of the colors that I think I'll be using for accents. And then you can just start mashing up the rest of it. Hi, Deborah. And hi, Sandra. Oh, thank you. Yeah, they're a lot of fun to make. Sometimes I look online and I see like these amazingly complex dragons that are far beyond anything I make, but that's okay. Don't compare ourselves. Hi, Margaret. Glad you made it today. So, we'll just roll these out. And I will mix these a little bit more than if I was doing a stripy sheet, because I do want it to look like one whole animal, but you could leave him streaky as you like. So I'm actually going to send this through the pasta machine quite a few times. Oh, and I wish I could do a quick switch for you to show you the pasta machine, because I know that's kind of fun and satisfying to watch. But you just use the pasta machine to keep mixing them. Just, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 passes. Hi, Beth. And Doreen. And is that Dawn? That's in a different alphabet than I'm familiar with, but hello, welcome. And once you get it to this stage, you can actually do a few things with it. You can just keep mixing it until it's fairly mixed and just a little bit marbled. You can also kind of, this is enough probably to do 3 or 4 dragons. You really, when you start grabbing pieces from your scrap bin, you grab a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and before you know it, you have, like I said, enough to do several dragons. You can kind of take all this and mash it together, and it's interesting to give it a slice and see what you've got on the inside. Oh, sharp side down. Would you look at that? Doesn't always happen. Now that might be a little bit too crazed for me. This little guy, the inside was this. And I just kind of rolled it into a ball with that on the outside and smoothed it out. And eventually it became this, which is pretty subtle, but, you know, a nice different kind of tones in different areas. So we'll do one of these just because I have it. Hi, Lila. No, you haven't missed much. We were just mixing clay, which you've probably seen me do before in other things, where we pick out a variety of shades, lights, darks, mediums. I actually learned this, a lot of things actually I learned. Oh, welcome from Ukraine. Wow, what time of day is it in Ukraine? Was it late at night? Oh, I was saying I actually learned this about color from quilting. There's an excellent book that I learned so much from quilting called Quilting from the Heart. And one of her lessons in there was to go through your fabrics and, well, do basically what I'm doing here, but in fabric. Pick a color, so green. Pick a blue green, a yellow green, a bright green, a dark green, a grayed out green, a fluorescent green, and put them all together. And the more different shades of the same thing you have, it's amazing how much they just all suddenly go together. If you have like 2 or 3 that don't really work together, then they look like they're off. But the more you put together, then the more they go, which is why I just like going in my scrap bin, because it really gives it an interesting, rich look. So let's see. I think I'm going to just kind of swirl this a little and just kind of blend those colors a tiny bit more. Thanks, Beth. And hello from Ontario. So this is a little bit much. I think a dragon this size, which the scale I like to work in, is something that will fit, you know, like in the palm of my hand. I'll start with about a 1-inch ball of clay. So this is a little big. Let's pull off some of that. And like I said, I have enough clay over there to probably make 3 dragons. Reno, excuse me. Oh, Reno. My mom is in Las Vegas. Southern California. I used to live in Southern California as a kid. We lived in Lancaster and Palmdale, out in the Mojave Desert. All right, I'm going to go, I don't know. This is just too much. I'm going to run this through the pasta machine 1 or 2 more times. See, now that's better. That's more what I wanted. Just a little bit more of a subtle blend. Vermont. Vermont is a beautiful state. It's getting so pretty around here. It's so nice to see everything turning green. My husband's peach trees have the most gorgeous pink blossoms on them. But it's kind of chilly. And today it's like windy and boo. It's funny. Today is actually my son's birthday. He's 32. I don't know how that happened. But I always say that here in New England, it isn't until about April 21st that the weather actually starts to turn nice. Because the day we brought him home from the hospital, it just suddenly you could feel the air had changed and it was nice and warm. Now, if there's any part you don't like, you might put that down by the tail because there's a chance you'll end up pulling that off anyways. And then if there's a color that you particularly like for the head, you can start with that, because what we're going to do now that we kind of like the blend is start rolling it into a cone. So you just put your hands like a V and make a cone, but then we're really, really going to elongate this. And I have to give credit where credit is due. I first started making dragons using Christi Friesen's book, Dragons. She had so many great ideas, but I wanted to go beyond what she showed in hers. But if you look at her book on dragons, you can see the genesis of a lot of my dragons. So see, when you start rolling it out, those colors blend even more. This guy actually, I think, is going to end up a little smaller than this one. I was going to put him on this one, although all I can think of when I look at this is that I should put a hookah smoking caterpillar on it. Seriously, from Alice in Wonderland. But maybe we'll do, I don't know, a hookah smoking dragon? I don't know. I was going to this morning and I just couldn't do it. I was going to antique this or at least do some kind of a wash of color. For those of you who are just coming in now, I was saying earlier that I actually colored this with pan pastels. This is all I have right now, but I loved it so much that I actually just placed an Amazon order for more, and I have more coming because I've been wanting to play more with them. I did something with them a couple years ago, a kind of a biggish project, and there's something about them I really like more than polymer clay blends. So I got some more coming. But this is all. I'm not sure about the copper on this. But this is all pan pastels. And then the underside, I went a little darker. I still have to go in and put, I forgot all about it, put some clay covering up the aluminum foil that I used to build up this base under the jar. Oh, and by the way, you guys that shared your fairy houses that you're making in the Facebook group, awesome. I just absolutely love seeing them. It's just so much fun to see your takes on things. All right, so this guy's going to be little, but that's okay. You want to start working on his head just with your pinky finger. Just kind of delineate where his neck and shoulders and head are going to be. Your pinky finger is great because it's soft, so you don't get hard ridge here, which you would get if you were using a tool. That's the best way I've found to do it. And just kind of go all the way around. Now to shape his head, you can make it any shape you want. I always recommend taking a look at pictures of creatures. We often think of dragons as reptiles. And so, look at lizards, snakes, but you can also look at other creatures. Sometimes their heads are shaped differently. Find a bunch of photos and inspiration and take your ideas from there. And that way yours will be a little bit more original too than if you're just copying somebody else's shape. But basically, I kind of just start tapering that just with pinches. And again, you can make it any shape you want. It can be kind of square. It can be like more pointy. You can kind of squash it in. See, that's what I did with this guy. I kind of made him a baby dragon. Oh, and I promised you I would have a story about him. So his story is that he is Rosalita's little baby, and somehow he wandered off, and he was attracted by the magic emanating from the mushrooms and crystals in this cottage. And dragons, like cats, like to be up in high places. So he climbed up onto this house, and he's a little sad and lost, and that's why he looks like that. His ears are droopy, and he's also kind of tired because he's a baby and he missed his nap time, and he's waiting for his mama to come find him. So there, I have a story. And that's about the extent of it. But anyways, back to shaping our faces. So you can have fun. Even just roll a ball of clay and start seeing what shapes you can come up with. You can shape it any way you want. You can make it back into a ball. You can roll this whole thing back into a ball and start all over again. Oh, I could not write children's books. I admire, that's about the extent of the story that I have, and the rest is just too much work to come up with more. I admire people who have stories in their heads and they have to get them out. That's not me. That was actually hard work coming up with that little bit of a story. I really had to work on it just for you guys. So that's kind of a cute shape. I think I'll stop there. Now this next step is optional. It's just to put a little bit of clay underneath where his eyes are going to be. Oh, audiobooks. I actually looked into reading audiobooks years ago because I've always been told I have a nice voice, and I also read well. I used to read to my kids a lot, and I would do the voices, and it was fun. And I looked into doing it professionally. It's actually, it's quite the thing. You actually have to be a part of the Screen Actors Guild, and lately I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and there are people, they act out the whole thing. Somebody doing voices for a story that has so many characters, and they do them all. Right? Those are a little high. It got kind of, I did look into it for a while. I even paid for, I went to a class about it, and I would have had to have gotten a recording studio, like a soundproof recording studio. It would have been a big investment with, and you would have been kind of doing the same thing as an actor where you're self-employed and you're never guaranteed a job unless you're, one of the biggies, and most people aren't. It's very competitive, and so I decided not to go that route. I just enjoy and admire those people who read audiobooks. So I did put in the supply list that you would need some pre-baked eyes. It's funny, I came across these and said, I don't remember making these, and they're not even black. I usually make them black. I had made a beaded border out of polymer clay on something. and didn't like it and took it apart. And so here they all are, and they're kind of perfect. Now, if you don't have pre-baked eyes, I was just trying to find two that were close to the same size. You can use beads. Beads are a little bit more work. Oop, get away. Because what you need to do, let me see, I found one in here when I was adding this little guy's spines. Here it is. What you need to do is add a piece of wire. So you insert a piece of wire into your bead and then use your pliers to twist it, and then use pliers to make a little bit of a hook, and then trim it off short, make a hook, and then this is what you can insert into your clay. And of course you want to stick the bead down far enough so that the wire is covered. And that way, when the clay bakes, that bead is going nowhere because it is deeply embedded, and in all those little hooks and nooks and twists mean that it's not going to pull out. If you just take a glass bead and pop it in polymer clay, after baking, it has a good chance of popping out. So you want to add a wire. But that's why I suggested the pre-baked balls, because they're a little bit easier to deal with. So we just, oh, bug-eyed dragon. That's all right, we'll fix that. I'm going to put one on each side. And try to get them even. I don't worry about it too much because it's not very often you're going to be looking at them straight on. But try to get them even. And once you have them both on there, then you can set them both deeply in place at the same time by just pinching. And now they're both in there. And he actually has pretty much the same expression on both sides, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes I get one who's kind of angry on one side and one who's something else on the other. All right, now we'll grab some more of our darker clay, or excuse me, our other pieces. I'm trying to decide what colors I want. Yeah, I love wasabi. I think I'll use wasabi. Now this little tiny piece here is probably enough to do 4 dragons, at least, if not 8. It's amazing to me, these little tiny things, how small they need to be. So I'm going to cut that in half, and then in half again, and this will probably be enough. What you want to do is roll little rice-shaped bits that are going to go over and under his eyes. Now, if you make them too big in proportion to his eyes, well, in this one, I purposely made them a little bit big because I wanted him to look sleepy. So you can do that. You can really get a lot of expression just from the eyelids, just the way you position them. But if you make them too big, he'll look either like puffy-eyed, like he's been crying, or tired. It's not always the look you want. I usually make happy little dragons. I think I'll make a happy dragon. All right. So we roll our rice-shaped bit. Still too big. Oh, you know what? I don't know if that's better. I just muted my laptop microphone because I was told that it can make feedback and you might get a buzz. Tell me if that made a difference. I really need to make myself a checklist because I'm really bad. Put on the lapel mic, mute the laptop microphone. So, oh, I didn't explain. I just did this because I've done it so many millions of times. And actually, I'm going to make that maybe half of that, tiniest bit bigger. I know dragons are fun. They're so much fun because there aren't any in the world today. to compare what you made to, so nobody can say they're not lifelike or realistic. So what I do is I roll my rice-shaped bit, then what I use is a fingernail to kind of give it a curve. So it already has the curve in it when I put it on the piece. And sometimes I use my finger, sometimes a tool to just pick it up and put it in place. And yeah, I use my fingernails a lot as tools. And then you can kind of nudge it, tap it, and use one, and then we'll do the other side. And that, I wouldn't make that any bigger unless, again, you want them to look puffy-eyed and sad. So what all is everybody working on these days? What else have I been doing? Well, not much. I've been working on my usual things, really. I just finished a Friday Findings video yesterday that will be coming out, I'm pretty sure, this Friday. I've also been giving myself permission to do less. I made some masks too. Yeah, I sent them. My husband and I each have one, and then I sent some to a local hospital. I saw pictures of some workers in grocery stores. They were not only wearing face masks, they had like plastic shields, sort of like a welder's mask, in addition to their face mask, which I thought was very cool. And I was really glad to see that the store, wanted to protect them. I mean, these were like kids, working at the grocery store, stocking the produce. Yeah, I have one for me. It's kind of a pinky purple with flowers on it, because why not? Oh, good. I'm glad you made some for yourself. Yeah, if nothing else, to protect yourself, but also so that when you go out in public, to make the people around you feel better. So then we'll do the exact same thing for the upper lid. Just roll little rice-shaped bits. Again, that's probably enough to do a few. And the upper one can be a little bigger than the lower one. I mean, you can, this is one of those things you just have to play with and see what you like. As far as sizes and proportions and what gives you the expression you want. Let me find a tool here. Here we go. That'll work. So the cool thing about the upper eyelid, let's see if I can get this to pick it up for me, is that it will make such a difference. So you can put it here. Now tilt it a little bit forward, and he looks angry. Actually, that's kind of cute. I sort of like that. Do it like that, and he looks, I don't know, kind of sneaky. Let's see. Put it up high and make his eyes wide, and he looks like he's in shock. We're going to be in quarantine how much longer? Tilt it back, and he looks kind of sad. Oh, I used to quilt. Yeah, I haven't made a quilt in a long time. Actually, the last baby shower I went to, I thought of making a quilt because I have a cabinet full of fabric. I'm sure I could find many quilts in that cabinet. And I had zero desire to make a quilt, which I thought was interesting, since that was like all I did for, well, not all, but a huge part of what I did for many years. And suddenly I was like, no, I'm going in on a fancy diaper bag with a friend. That sounds good. Oh, he looks grumpy. So see how much just that little tilt. Oh, I like that. It looks kind of cranky. And I was going to make a happy dragon, but that cranky looks kind of cool, kind of cute. What's he mad about? Is this his brother? He stole his dragonos. He must be the older brother yelling at the little one, right? Yeah, it's interesting. A good time, you're right. A good time to give yourself permission to do less. And I think the for a while there, when the first few weeks when it was going on, there was a flurry of stuff. You know, this is a good time to learn a new skill, get fit, organize your entire house. And it was like, oh my goodness, what? And that has kind of tapered off a bit, I think, which is good. Because I think it was a little bit maybe too high of an expectation for, you know, just disregarding what people are going through mentally. Oh, now that should be an interesting expression. Ooh. Super cranky. Ooh, I like it. Now you can decorate this with some texture or not. It's up to you. Let's see if I can just kind of nudge that. Ooh, grumpy dragon. Okay. You can add more, which I like to do. Yeah, taking online classes is great. Just some of it, the implication was, you know, if you don't come out of this hugely self-improved, then you've wasted the chance, which might be true, but it also might not be. Just like expecting someone who's, well, grieving really, to accomplish a lot. One thing I like to do with these is stack them. So I like to add more than one. And you can add lots and lots. Trying to get these the same size. Just little tiny amounts. There's a gal on YouTube. I haven't seen her share a class in maybe a year or two. Let's Clay with Iwa. And she did the greatest videos. There was no sound. It was just some music. But I was impressed because she would always roll things. She would work on 2 at a time, 1 in each hand. And it's actually a great way to feel if you have, which is the best way with these little tiny pieces, feel if you have the same amount of clay in each piece. Because these little tiny bits can be hard to measure, but if they're different, it can really show. So you do the same thing, except these can be bigger. And you can do more on the top. Oh, I like that. You can even leave that so it's kind of sticking out a little bit, or tap it down. It's up to you. You can also kind of give that longer end a little bit more of shape. Oh, thank you. I wasn't sure about the copper. Yeah, I put it on and then I was like, oh no, I had liked it so much. And then I put it on and I wasn't sure. So I covered up most of it, but it's kind of cool glowing through. No. So this, I was talking about this last week, really requires a delicate touch. You have to just tap these things on gently. Oh, maybe too gently. That one looked like it wasn't stuck. And there. Oh, cute, grumpy face. I like. Now you can do other things. You can use a needle tool like I did here and add some dotted texture. On this one, I put some lines under here, and then I think I pressed some lines up here. just because I could. It looks like I must have flattened some of that out though as I was working, which happens. You can also put little tiny dots of clay. I think I'm just going to, I think I'm going to add another one right there. This, no. That, all right. Now, of course, if you don't want to put your dragon on your fairy house, I don't know, what other things would you put them on? Well, when I made, I did my dragon challenge in 2015. I've told you I made a dragon every week for a year. So I found all kinds of different places to put dragons because I really didn't feel like doing the same thing twice. Put them on candle holders, box lids, plaques, jars. Actually, what I did that year was the first year. Now you can really see that those are different. It was the first year of Polymer Clay Adventure, which, if you're not familiar with it, is an online learning experience. Oh, the bird cage, yeah. Yeah, I was always in the craft store looking for new things I could put a dragon on. But the Polymer Clay Adventure is a year-long online learning experience in polymer clay, and you get a new class about every 2 weeks or so, or 2 a month. And so I had taken it that year, and I wasn't a teacher then. I was just a student, and I didn't have time to make their projects and make a dragon every week. So what I did was I took the techniques that they taught and figured out a way to turn each one into a dragon. I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know, is that a bit much? Nah. Well, here, all right, I have an example. Sorry. This is, you might recognize the style as that of Chris Capono, Mandarin Moon. And she taught, I think it was a sun catcher, because I don't know if you could see the light shining through these. It's on a glass tile. So I did her class, but I put a dragon on it. And that was kind of the theme. And it looks like a bunch of these have busted off. Everything was just, all right, how do I turn that into a dragon? So that's something you can do is, as you take these classes, you can, take what you want from it. You don't have to make the thing exactly. Like one of the more recent ones this year in the Polymer Clay Adventure is this Pat the Flat Cow. It's really cute. And she does all these canes, kind of Zentangle-like. And I'm not really into cows, but I thought, well, funny, I didn't even think to make it a dragon. I don't know. It didn't seem dragon-like to me. But I thought to make maybe a cat would be cute. All right, so we've got this far. We've got eyes on a face and his body, and I just kind of rolled that out a bit more. What I really like, and I hate snakes, but I do like dragons. I like this long, sinuous, tapered. Well, you can see here, there's not a straight line in sight. He's all curvy and twisty and curly, and that's what I like. All right, we can add a couple more facial details. Like I said, this is a pretty simple dragon. you can give him some nostrils, and the best way, it's going to be hard for you to see this on camera. Well, let me just I'll put him on my thumb. And you can see looking straight on, he is so not even, but that's okay. And I'm going to pay attention to where this finger is so I don't squash something. So I'm just going to put it on the back of his neck, support his muzzle on my thumb, and then just take a needle tool and give him some nostrils and try to make them even. You can also roll balls of clay and put them there and then poke into them. And you can press in and give him a mouth. I sometimes do that and sometimes don't. It can be tricky, so we'll skip that for today because he's got a pretty cute expression without it. And now we're going to add some spines. And I put in the supply list, let me move this out of the way so I don't wreck him. I put in the supply list, and those are the this guy's flower and leaf that they keep popping off, to use beads, long beads like daggers or long magatamas. You could certainly make spines out of polymer clay, but this is just kind of a quick and easy and kind of fun mixed media way of doing it. If you had a bigger dragon or smaller crystals, things like this would be really cool, stuffed into the back of the dragon to make his spines or spikes. Let's see. Oh, so this is what I used. Let me put some of these out. Keep in mind that when you're using these for your dragon spines, about half of it, at least a third, but probably around half of it is going into his body. So if you're looking at something like this, which is what I did first, these are some mini dagger beads from Dollar Bead Box. And although they look perfect, if I could just put them on the surface of this little guy, stuffing half of it down into him would mean like only that much would show. And then how would you hold on to that and push it in? It would be pretty tricky. So keep that in mind when you're choosing beads, and actually choose ones that are maybe slightly bigger. These ones I did not wire. I didn't feel like it. And they're in there pretty firmly. I don't know if I worked at it, I might be able to get them out, so I'm not going to. But no, they're in there pretty good, especially I put them whole side down. I wouldn't go much smaller than these. I mean, you can wire them if you want, like I showed, but I don't know that it's entirely necessary. There's also regular daggers. These are both Czech glass daggers, different sizes. And these would be good because they've got that nice dagger shape, and they're also plenty long that you could stuff half of it in, more than half, and have just this much sticking up. And then these are a little fatter, but they've got this cool speckled pattern. So just kind of dig around through your bead stash and see what you have, if you haven't already. Also, briolettes, actually. Yeah, that cow class was adorable. It was, I mean, honestly, I'm terrible. I look at these things and I go, I don't know. I wasn't impressed. And then I watched it, and it was a charming class. In fact, she said it was her first class, her first video she made, and it was just really, really well done. So yeah, I highly recommend the Polymer Clay Adventure. And I have a dragon. I meant to bring it down here to show you, because I have 3 dragon pendants that will be coming up later in the year that you can learn. They're really cool. But anyways, back to this dragon. And take something like briolette and get some very sparkly spines. And then, decide how deep you want to push each one in. These came in the most recent Potomac bead box, which I finally just opened April's. So those are really pretty. Briolettes, or even, these would make good spines too. These also came in the Potomac bead box. And if you haven't checked them out, I really love getting that every month. It's a nice curated bunch of beads, and then there's always the beads and directions for one project. So it's kind of like a cross between a kit and just a random assortment of things. You get both. So these would be really cool too. These are leaf beads, pressed Czech glass leaf beads. And those would make really good spines. Again, you can press them down to whatever depth you want. And I actually think I'm going to use those in this guy. Now you can, excuse me for a sec, I gotta get some water. Now you can press these on right now on the tile, which will give you more control, or you can press them on once he's on the house. But then you kind of have to keep in mind that you're pressing on it on the house, and I don't know how well you can see, but it was tricky to press it on the house and then not like damage the body against the texture of the house. I tried to smooth that out. I didn't do a great job. So it's up to you whether you want to press them on now. I'm going to try pressing these on now and see how it goes, because at this point I have the tile to press against, so it should give me more control. And I'm going to press these in pretty deep because I just want that little bit to show. Isn't that cute? Oh, I like. Spring flowers. Oh, that's what I was starting to say, Margaret. Is it Margie or Margaret? About the Potomac bead box, is that these colors, it was a spring themed box with just really pretty spring colors. So you got a project, and that was also spring colors. These really pretty green beads. It's a lovely shade. And then everything else in there was kind of a random mix, but they were all really beautiful springtime colors. I think these are big enough that I may only give him 3. Now he's flattened out against the tile a little bit, but you can just patiently push and stroke and kind of round him out a little bit more. Oh, I like that. That's cute. Okay. I bet the folks at Potomac Bead Box did not guess their beads were going to be used on a dragon. All right, and now wings. And I have, yeah, I'm wondering if those should be smaller. That's a little big. Do I have that? Let me see. Yeah, if you haven't tried, sorry. Oh, here we go. If you haven't tried this feather cane by Gail Thompson, it's a fun project, and it's kind of cool and interesting watching it come together. And I've made a couple of them in different colors. Here's one I reduced down a little further. Oh, that's a better size. So for this little guy, I cut 2 slices for each wing. You can do however many. If you have smaller canes, you can do more. Or maybe if you have one big, like a flower petal cane. Whatever works. Oh, there goes another flower. Oh my gosh. I guess that's what I get for pressing them on so delicately. Sheesh. All right. So we'll cut some slices. And the main thing here is, okay, we'll cut one off just to even it off. The main thing here is that not to cut them super thin, just to cut 4 fairly easy. And oh, I have the sharp end down. Wow. Go me. Oh, those are pretty. Oh, I'm wondering if those would look good in a grouping of 3. I think they would. Yeah. Oh, I got some cool news today. So if you guys have been following me, you might know that last fall I taught a live class. It was a 3-day weekend workshop, Polymer Clay one-on-one, focus on flowers. And so I was teaching, I mean, some people had experience and some didn't, but it was geared towards beginners. And it was, well, it was all flowers. Some of them you may have seen tutorials, but it was a fun weekend. It was a lot of work, but it was fun. And they just confirmed that they're having me back next summer. That means June of 2021. That is thicker than all the others, so as is this one. So I'm going to set those aside. So if you're going to be in Massachusetts, or plan to be in Massachusetts, June of 2021, the 11th to the 13th, I will be teaching at a place in Western Mass called Snow Farm, and it's art camp for adults. I'm so excited. One of the perks of teaching there is that yes, Snow Farm. Do you know of it? One of the perks of teaching there is that the next year after you teach, you get to take a class. You have to pay for your meals, but you have to pay like the supply list. But yeah. Oh, it's awesome. I was there for the first time last fall, and I had the best time. I did not expect to enjoy myself as much as I did. I loved it. Art camp for adults, just so much fun. But I get to teach a class. Sadly, I had chosen a class in May, and they had to cancel their April and May classes. So I've got another one. I'm going to try to take a class in August. Western Mass is so pretty. I went to school at UMass Amherst. My boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband, has been for over 30 years, we used to ride his motorcycle all over the place. Oh, what I'm doing now is these, I don't want these to be too thin. I want to leave them, thick-ish. I don't know, that's maybe a little thicker than the others, but a few millimeters thick. But what I'm doing is I'm taking this, just a scrap of index card, and I'm just kind of going over edges to kind of round them and smooth them. I am not a fan of that cut edge look. It just always bothers me. It looks unfinished. Oh, Deneen, well, yeah, look up Snow Farm. It's snowfarm.org. They're just the nicest people, and you start looking at their workshops. I want to take every single workshop they have. I had the hardest time when I had to choose which classes I wanted to take. I focused on glass work because that's something I've really missed doing, like lampwork glass. All right, make sure your blade is clean, and we'll slide those up if you want. I just thought it would add so much more interest to have a cane, and if you have one that's already made. I mean, we often make these canes and then, they sit in a drawer. So it's fun to find a way to use them. So we'll start with the 2 biggest. So that would be those 2. And I'm going to kind of build both wings. And then the next 2 biggest. You're probably yelling at me on camera. You can probably see it better than I can. And then the 2 smallest on the ends-ish. There we go. Oh, that's cute. just kind of see if we can kind of condense those together a little. Squish them. How are we doing on time? Oh, 2 o'clock. I'm doing good. So yeah, I'm excited to go back. It's about a 3-hour drive for me, which I don't mind at all. Put on a good audiobook and wish it was longer. Let's see. Now there's a couple ways you can attach the wings. It depends on the style of your wings. For this one, I actually took a tool. I think this, and pretty much cut a slit to stick the wings into. I'm not sure what I want to do here. Let's see. This will be one on the right. I think I can just stick that on. I don't think I need to. No. Those go. I don't know. Are those too big? They might be a little big. We'll curl them down. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to stick that on. You can also add texture to your dragon. I didn't. You can do all manner of things. Let me just get this stuck on before I distract myself again. Oh, that's cute. Yeah. So I'm just going to kind of curl those down. That's adorable. Okay, I'm happy with it. Textures for the dragon. Gosh, you can do anything. Let me find here we go. Just a scrap of clay. You can use a tool. See, like that? The pointy tool. And you have dragon scales. It's tricky because any handling of it will smooth out your texture. You could do it as simply as taking a needle tool and going poke, 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 poke. Oh, I was going to show you something else I did with that other cane. Why I made it. Where'd he go? Loose along, where are you? That's the dragon. Oh, be right back. There he is. I meant to grab all these and then I forgot. This is Loose Along, a forest dragon, and I used this cane that I used for this guy's wings to cover this entire dragon. I'll take him off the branch. He's shitting. Oh, you can see him better from the underside. This took forever and a day. It really took a long time, but it's very satisfying. And his claws seem to be coming off. Yeah, he's very delicate. So you can certainly do something like that where you apply scales. What I would suggest is you just do it in sections. So you make the body and you bake it. And then you apply scales to a certain point. So you would need to start at the tail, so because of the way they overlap. And maybe go up to wherever you're comfortable with. When you feel like you're going to start wrecking things, then bake him. And then come back and do some more. So he's actually from a book series that I enjoy. It's called The Tiger's Curse series. There's another case where actually the audio books are much better than the written books because the reader brings in more than the author did. And we are shedding pieces of bark everywhere. So let's see. You can put all kinds of mixed media in with your dragons. This is Jinsalong. He is another dragon from the same book. And he is a treasure dragon. You can tell by his avaricious expression and posture. Mine, all mine. It is his treasure trove. And in here I have a quartz crystal, some crystal cabochons. This is actually from the pet store, the fish aisle. I don't know if all of these can be baked, but some of them can. You know, you have to take a chance and test it out before you put it in your sculpture. This little mermaid actually is from, if you drink red rose tea, they have those little ceramic sculptures, and I saved them for things like this. Well, he is a treasure dragon, and he was described as having scales that look like coins. So I actually used a leather stamping tool, and actually each of these scales, you can't really tell. I don't know how much of a difference it made in the end, but they actually each was a oh my gosh, a cane. The coin scales were a cane, and then I textured each one with the leather stamping tool and applied them the same way in layers. So I mean, you can, again, it was another one that took a long, long time to make. But and a different way of doing the spikes down his back. Just by making little cones of clay. You could see he's got lots of lines on his face. He's got some teeth, which I pre-baked. It was much easier to do it that way. He's got even more lines under his eyes. He's got fancy eyes. So, you know, different shaped face. So once you decide on a theme, it's often much easier than to decide on details. You know, he's kind of mossy and woodsy looking. So he's also got teeth and kind of some mossy stuff, lichen on his head. And probably the one thing I'm not thrilled with are the toes. I got better at that. I drink the caffeinated tea much, but my husband was drinking it in the summer for iced tea, so we went through a lot. So I got a lot of those little ceramic pieces. So just to give you ideas for what you can do with your dragon, you can, I mean, like I said, this is a very simple, basic one, and you can get as complex as you like. So now at this point, I'm trying to decide, you know, where I want him. I'm not adding arms or legs today. We're just going to keep him simple. He's not a snake, obviously, because he's got the wings and the spikes. And you can add more spikes too. I wasn't sure. I don't know. Should I add one more? I think I will add one more, just so that it's visible beyond his wings. Yeah, what else do you do with those little ceramic pieces? I suppose you could display them all, but I have a couple. I think I have a Halloween one that I put out. It's got a little cat and a pumpkin. That's cute. And I put it out at Halloween. Now, this should be smaller, so I'm going to push it in pretty deep so that less of it shows, if that makes sense. So they're actually whoops, I knew I was going to do that. Kind of tapering in size. It's okay. Oh, gosh. I just did that. All right. Lots of gentle pats. I'm hardly touching it at all. A friend of mine, the friend who taught me how to do lampwork glass, told me something great about really mastering any medium. She said, it's not what you can make, it's what you can fix, which is so true. If you know your medium well enough that when a disaster happens, you know how to rescue it, I'm not patting my own back here because I don't know how much of a rescue this is, but yeah, that if you know it well enough that you can not freak out and just calmly approach it and fix it, that'll have to do. Then you know you've gotten okay. He needs to see the vet. Yeah, the vet would love to see a dragon, a feather-winged dragon coming, huh? I haven't come up with names for these little guys. Let's see. All right, so I added the other spike, made a mess of his wing, and now I'm going to decide, like cats, dragons are a lot like cats in many ways, I think. So like cats, they want to be up high. So I'm going to put him up here. I think that's pretty good. And then we're going to see, not a straight line in sight. I'm going to give him some lovely sinuous shape. And I always love the tail curl. And I know it's hard for you to see. There he is. And kind of give him a bit of a head tilt. There we go. And I didn't get out my liquid clay. Hey, from down under. Wow. Welcome. Okay, Margie. Yep. So, liquid clay, always the best way to connect raw clay to baked clay. And I have a brush dedicated to liquid clay. And this is helpful. I pressed him on there, and so I can kind of see from the marks, like where he was contacting the mushroom, and so I know where to put the liquid clay. Okay, I'll try to tilt this so you can see. I've just got him up here with his head caught a little bit, and I probably, no, he's okay. Yeah, there we go. More of an S shape. All right. So there's one thing he's missing, and that's his tail tip. And I think we need to smooth that right there where I pressed in that last bead. It's a little dented. This is a Christi Friesen tool. I absolutely love. I almost bought another one. I absolutely love her stainless steel tools because the clay just responds. Again, it's not hard presses. It's just little nudges and taps. And then you can get that filled in kind of smoothly. That's not bad. Could be better, but not bad. So tail tips can be, well, anything you want. On this guy, I did just a traditional, you know, what you see traditional, I don't know. 4:15 a.m. Wow. Well, thank you for coming so early in the morning. I don't think I'd be up for anything at 4:15 a.m. except more sleep. Traditional, yeah, I don't know, just what a lot of artists, how a lot of artists have rendered dragon tips is with this. But it depends on what they are. Jin Salong, my treasure dragon, he actually lives under the ocean, so he got more of a fishtail. And Lusalong, the forest dragon, his is, well, these are extruded strands of clay. He's probably rather dusty. These things are tricky to dust. But he's got more of a, like a mossy pile of sticks, something you'd find in the woods tail. So you can do whatever, whatever makes you happy, whatever looks good. you know what would be cute if I had more of those feathers would be to put, I don't know if I have, do I have any of that cane in a tiny, tiny, let's see, here's my box of green canes. I don't know if I have any of that feather that I reduced really small. I don't think I do. Probably because I didn't want to reduce it really small, because then you can only use it really small. Yeah. That's all right. All right, we'll just make a little, let's see. I think we'll go with the wasabi again. I love this color. Oh, you know, I didn't make him ears. I'll show you how I made ears. It's really easy, but I think I'm not going to give this guy ears. I don't know if you can. So you just, as with most anything in clay, start with a ball, roll like a little cone, flatten it. You can tell I got the bark all over my fingers from handling those other ones. You're going to use your blade to shape it into a triangle. Sorry for the squeak. No, go away. Pick that up. Yes, on lookout. Or you just, I think they just like being like cats. They like being up high. Like any predator, right? I went into my greenhouse, which has a couple boards across the top. My husband like stored up there, and now they're there permanently because the cats love to just sit up there. And actually they can sit up there and look down into the house from the greenhouse. It's attached to our living room and kitchen. And I went in there to repot something, and I'd been in there the whole time and look up and there's the cat, and I'm like, wow. Oh, is that why you're up at 4:15, Jane? I'm so sorry. That stinks. Insomnia, yeah. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, so I look up and the cat is just very quietly watching me, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm glad I'm not a bird. That's pretty scary, watching that predator so quietly perched on high. I'm just adding some lines to this. You can do whatever you want. I like to add a little something so it's not just flat. This can be a little tricky to attach. So even though it's raw on raw, I will add some liquid clay to that. Kind of squish it. And there. Oh, I said I'd show you ears, and then I think that's it. I did want to show you one thing about this guy. If you're familiar with polymer clay, you know that it will droop in the oven. And that can be a problem where this I have to bake upright. And I was afraid that he might slide off or that this wing might droop. So what you can do is just take some aluminum foil, and now all the rest of this was baked, of course, and just kind of put it on there, not touching. I didn't have it touching the dragon because I didn't want to introduce new texture that I didn't want. But I basically put that collar on the roof and then tucked a little bit of batting under there just to support his wing in the oven, just so that he would stay in place and not fall off. Something to keep in mind. Oh, and I wanted to show you how cute. Isn't that adorable? I just love the lights, little fairy lights in there. All right, so we'll do ears, which are super simple. Yeah, lots of crafting done. Oh, it can be any batting. I think this is polyester batting. The oven does not get hot enough to cause it a problem. So any batting you have, or toilet tissue, if you can spare a square. Just anything, something soft, and it doesn't have to be, it can be something very light that will support things so they don't droop. So let's see, for an ear, again, let me turn these off. Basically start it the way you start a leaf. You roll a ball, flatten it into a teardrop. You can use your blade to shape that if you want. Pick it up. You want to flatten it out pretty much, because then what you want to do is pinch this bottom end and kind of roll it in your fingers. Then you can do so many things. And just like with a leaf, you can pull that out, you can shape it, and you can see how much personality. I popped his ears on and then kind of drooped him down because I wanted him to look sad. He's sad and he's tired. But you can get quite a bit of personality just by changing the angle and positioning of the ears, much like the eyes. Let me see if I can. I'll stick it on a tool and show you. Oh, see, now he's gotten flattened out there. He doesn't look nearly as grumpy as he did earlier. I must have squashed him when handling him. Sadly, that happens. Let's see. Here's a tool. I just wanted to show you the ears. So you can, if you have his ear kind of hanging back, he looks sad. Or they can be up and perky, and then he looks kind of interested. It can be forward. He's really paying attention. Yeah, you can really play with the positioning. And sometimes I'll just stick the ears on, but a good way to deal with it is to actually make a hole. So if we pretend this is his head, is to actually make a pretty good size, surprisingly good size little hole. Add a dab of liquid clay in there. And then tuck the ear in. So that one's a little long. So I'll just trim that off a bit. And then tuck that in there. And that way, and then you can shape it, play with it and shape it however you want. Make sure you add the liquid clay, because you're using, the problem I find is using that very delicate touch, sometimes things are not stuck on well, which you can see here, all my little flowers are coming off. And that's okay. I'll go back later and glue them back with some super glue. But yeah, so this will make your ears more secure. And then once they're in there, you can, like I said, change the position. Yep, very much like a calla lily. 3 weeks, no toilet paper. Wow. Our store has a 1 package limit, and so every time we go, whoever goes, we get one, no matter if we need it or not. Yeah. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed. I certainly had fun creating this little guy, and both these little guys. I think I need to come up with names for them. I'd be happy to take suggestions, and I hope if you make a fairy house or a dragon or a dragon, that you will share what you did in my Facebook group. There is a link down below in the description box. And so thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. It was so nice visiting with you all and hearing from folks all over the world, the Ukraine and Australia and Canada and the other side of the country and the other side of the world. It was very cool. So go forth and create and relax and have yourselves a nice day. I am going to sign off now.